Hi, I'm Anne, and I am the default cook in my home, as well as most places on the internet. And today we're going to talk about freezer meals and ways to incorporate using things in your freezer into your meal planning routine, and just ways that they can help. So I pulled some stuff that's in my freezer right now. We'll talk about a few things that I sometimes have in my freezer, and then we're going to put something in my freezer. First up, rotisserie chicken. I like to portion this out into sections or amounts that my family is going to use. This is about 1/3 of a Costco bird. And now this is ready to go in to basically any pasta, taco dish, whatever. I also have some raw chicken that's diced up. And again, just cut, ready to go. I could pull this out, add some soy sauce and some brown sugar, add a little ginger and garlic powder, a little sesame oil, and I would have chicken teriyaki. And I could let that marinate as it defrosts, and then throw it in a pot, make some rice, and have dinner. This is already marinating. So this is a pork tenderloin with Dijon mustard, Worcestershire, or however you want to say that sauce, and oil. A few seasonings as well. And I marinated this and then froze it, and it'll continue to marinate when it's time to thaw it and eat it, which we're actually going to do this week because I have some sweet potatoes that I want to use up, and what better to go with pork than sweet potatoes? I like to keep some cooked ground beef if I can. That makes it really easy on a busy night to come home and make spaghetti sauce. And by make spaghetti sauce, I mean open a jar of spaghetti sauce, add this in, and this will heat in the sauce as I'm cooking spaghetti. Super easy dinner. This is also really easy to turn into tacos. Just add some seasoning and water. When the beef is already browned, it's just really, really quick for dinner. You'll also see with this and the rotisserie, more so with this rotisserie is not the best example of it because human and life, but I try and flatten it out and get the air out, and then kind of cross over and pinch most of it, get the rest out, and then pinch off the last to get as much air out as I can before freezing them so that they last longer in the freezer. Sometimes I will season the chicken before I freeze it. So this was a particularly large breast that I cut in half and then seasoned both sides with just some simple seasonings and oil. It might look like there's quite a bit here, but the smoked paprika is really where most of that color comes from. Other than that, it's like garlic powder, onion powder, salt and pepper. We also have already cooked spaghetti sauce. So made some, had a little left over, wham bam. This is a great go-to. And the way I meal plan with these is something like this is things went poorly today, and whatever plan I had is out the window, and now I am going to grab this from the freezer and make pasta and call it a day. Something like this, I'm going to plan ahead a little bit and say, okay, I'm gonna pull this to the fridge today, let it defrost. I'm gonna cook this tomorrow with those sweet potatoes, and this is what we're gonna have for dinner tomorrow night. You can also do like a full meal. One of the things that I like to freeze are like a crock pot or instant pot meal, where you prep everything and put it in like a gallon zip top and then put that in. Now for that, I will write a little more detail on there. I would write on, say this was my Italian pepper steak, that's one I like to freeze. I will chop up the meat, chop up the veggies, most of all the seasonings, and everything but the canned tomatoes, because the canned tomatoes are gonna be fine in my pantry. They don't need to go into this freezer bag and take up freezer space. So I will write on there, Italian pepper steak, add canned tomatoes. And that way it triggers me in a reminding fashion that, hey, I need to add tomatoes to this when I defrost this and put it in the crock pot. So those are some basic ways that I like to use my freezer to either act as like a backup option that's quick. I love, freezer lasagna as much as the next girl, but it still takes over an hour to cook. So we can plan for that, but it's not what I would consider a backup just because of the length of time that it takes. Now for freezing, the other thing you can do is individual portions, and that's what we're going to do right here. And you might be like, Anne, why do you have a pot out? And it is so that I can see if my container is too big or not. Because if I'm doing an individual portion, I want to make sure that I can take this and pop it out and put it in whatever pot I am most likely to use. So this one, it kind of looks like it doesn't fit, but it actually does. It's just the lip of the container on the outside here that doesn't fit in. So anything I put into here will work. Now, same with this. This is a good size. The whole thing fits in there. So anything I pop out of this is going to fit in that pot right away and be a good option. These are a little more single serve, and there are systems that do this. Super Cube is a really popular one. I don't have their products yet. I've heard really great things, but right now I'm using what I've got, and that's this. So we're gonna take this lemon rice chicken soup, and she's a thick soup. You might be like, Anne, that looks like a casserole. And you're not wrong, it kind of does. I cooked it in that soup pot though. It's a soup. It is just very thick. And when it's cold, it's even gonna be, look thicker. So I'm gonna divide this into 2 portions. And you know what? I already messed that up. Real life. It's okay. We'll just start over. Because what I want to do to make this easier to remove in case I want the container back before I make the soup is I want to grease it just a little bit. So I'm going to do that with a little bit of spray, just so that it slides out a little bit easier when it's frozen. Because I could freeze this and then pop it out of the container and put it into a zip top. The other thing you can do instead of spray, and you don't have to do spray, it just makes it a little easier to remove things, as we could use some plastic wrap. And it's okay if it's not perfect. We're gonna push this in. And then add our leftovers. I'm gonna try and keep the plastic on the sides and I don't want to end up with it on the wrong side of the plastic wrap. But this made like 6 servings of soup, and we ate about half of it the first night, had leftovers for one of my lunches, and now this will be 2 more lunches. Oh my goodness. Get off that spoon. That go in the freezer. And this is a true like emergency backup too, because I could heat this up relatively quickly for most things. This particular soup, which is not on the site yet, it will be, is actually one where I recommend thawing it all the way first in the fridge. And that's because it is thickened with an egg lemon mixture. And if you just heat if you heat it quickly, the eggs will cook further. This is very like carbonara type of an egg, glossy, not scrambled egg. Well, we don't want scrambled egg. It would still taste good with scrambled eggs, but it'll be best texture-wise if I heat it slowly. And so that's what the plan is. And then I'll just put these in my freezer and freeze them as is. If this was chili or a different kind of soup, that wouldn't matter at all. And I could just plop it out, frozen, straight into my pot. Wham bam. And this will fit, which is why we checked that. So that's why the pot was here. We're not actually using the pot for anything else. We were just checking our size, because that's one that I use quite a bit for single servings. And you can do that in single servings, or you can do it in family servings. Single servings, of course, will thaw faster and are a little more flexible. So I prefer to have multiple things. So like my husband and I could have this for dinner on a night where we're doing something different for the kids, and I could pull out both servings. Or I can pull out one for lunch for me and one for lunch the next day. Different options. And I have more of that flexibility with smaller portions. So I hope that helps. There are a couple different ways to use our freezer. We can use it for already cooked things that just need reheated, and that can be a single portion of leftovers, or it can be like this is more than one portion of spaghetti sauce. Just however your family is going to use it, that's how you want to portion things out. If you're sure that you're going to use multiple portions, because let's be honest, I'm never making spaghetti for just me. It's always something that I'm having with the kids. Then go ahead and do a bigger portion. If it might be something that you do just for one portion, then go ahead and freeze it in single portions. That's for already cooked food like this. In between stuff is where it's par cooked, where the ground beef is all the way cooked, but we're not just like munching on ground beef, right? This is going to be a component that goes into something, whether it's tacos or spaghetti sauce or stuffed peppers, whatever it is. This just speeds things up on your weeknights to already have done. And it also lets you take advantage of those mega sales where, hey, ground beef's on sale, but you have to buy the family pack and it's like 5 pounds, and we don't need 5 pounds this week. This lets you kind of take advantage of that. Same with rotisserie chicken. I get these at Costco and just break them down, freeze them, and throw this into any pasta. And this is a great backup dinner as well. Just like this can go into spaghetti, this can go into, usually my backup is a pesto sauce with a pasta and maybe a veggie and this. And then dinner's done. And then you can do like full-on planning where you're seasoning it in advance to keep things a little faster. This is chicken that I'll just bake, or maybe I'll sous vide since I have a sous vide. I know not everybody has one. But you can just bake it and it's already seasoned, so you can kind of pull that out in the morning. And that's why I make these thin too, because then they're actually going to be defrosted when I come home to make dinner if I pull this out in the morning. Because a lot of times if I pull something out, it's not all the way thawed by dinner time. I try and thaw at night and pull things out the night before, like after cleaning up, but life be lifin', and that doesn't always happen. Again, we have our marinated things. You can freeze things that are marinated. You want to avoid doing a lot of like dairy with that, but something like this where it's just oil and sauce and there's no dairy in it, totally great. I have done similar with chicken and teriyaki sauce before as well, but this is more flexible. We can do whatever we want with it. And so you have lots of different options for ways to utilize your freezer to help you plan with a little more flexibility and a little easier with any luck. Before we go, I also want to remind you that you are doing an amazing job. Absolutely fabulous. And I hope you believe that. But if you don't, I'm going to believe it for the both of us. So, your people are so lucky to have you. You're doing great, and I will catch you next time.